Hello, everyone. Good day, good morning, good evening, good night to you. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here today. It is such a pleasure having you here. We are going to be reading English, and I hope that you are ready, as I am also ready to read English. So, know that it is a pleasure having you here, and I hope that you guys can join the fun in reading English. It is always a good thing to improve English. And with you improving English, it would mean sacrificing some time to be able to actually spend time speaking, writing the language. And this has to be an everyday thing. You can't just do it one time and think that that one time it's going to work for you. You have to be very uh, consistent whenever you want to learn English. So, thank you so much for being here. It is a pleasure having you here as we go ahead and we learn to read English. All right, guys. So, let me begin by sharing my screen. Uh, and I hope that you are ready to go ahead and read English with me. Don't forget to share the video with someone who you know may be interested in learning how to read English. Don't forget to share. So go ahead and share the video, guys. Share the video with someone who you know might be interested in learning how to read English. There are so many persons out there today who are trying their best to improve their English, who really want to learn English, and uh, the more, the merrier, right? So the more they are able to practice, it is the better for them. So, guys, what's new? Thank you guys who have subscribed lately. We have had a few new subscribers. We appreciate you guys subscribing. Those of you who are new to the channel, I hope that you would learn a lot here in terms of learning how to read English, how to uh, use the expressions, also vocabulary, everything in one, guys. So I'm not going to just say any particular thing by itself. I would just rather say English in general, that you would have a boost in terms of your knowledge, and you're able to speak orally, and also you're able to put it in writing. I think those would be your main objective as a English learner, and it is what I would hope for you. All right, guys. So let's not delay any longer. Let's go ahead and let's get this reading together. Don't forget to share with a friend as we go ahead. If you have any questions, guys, please don't hesitate to ask your question. I'm here to answer your questions when it relates to whatever we are learning, the content. If there's something new that you need refreshing or retool on, then you can also share that, so we can probably do some sessions on that and really help you to improve, because that's what we're here for, right? Well, yes, I would hope that's what we're here for. So go ahead, guys, give the video a thumbs up and let's just do this together. Thank you so much to you wonderful people who have graciously given the videos a thumbs up. I totally appreciate it. So let's begin reading our story. Today's story, it's an English short story, and we'll be doing some reading practice. And here we are going to be reading about Christmas. We are not just going to be reading about Christmas from one perspective or from one viewpoint or point of view, but we're going to be reading about Christmas from two different viewpoints or point of views. So, our first point of view that we're going to be reading from is that of someone who experienced Christmas in Japan and someone who experienced Christmas in America. So, here we are going to talk about Christmas in Japan and also Christmas in America. And this is very much ideal for you since Christmas is a thing that is very much worldwide or widely known. And it is always good for you to learn about different cultures, how they celebrate Christmas, or how they see Christmas. All right, so let's get on to that. So, our English short story today is about Christmas in America versus Christmas in Japan. Let's get right into it. So, as you're aware, that we normally decode the words first, and then after decoding the words, we would begin to read the whole text. And this would help you with words that you are not so familiar with, and we'll also practice their pronunciations. Here we would do British pronunciation and also the American pronunciation because sometimes the pronunciation would differ for the different places. Remember, the British, their pronunciations would stay as the more primitive traditional pronunciations compared to the American pronunciations. America has developed a system where these days they pronounce words as they are being spelled, and that is to help also with spelling purposes. So if you've noticed that, go ahead, comment in the comment section. If you guys want to join me to read on screen, I would absolutely love that. Guys can do so by hitting the link in the comment section. There is a link there that would allow you to be able to come on screen to read with me. So thank you to the two persons, wonderful two persons I see here with me today. I totally appreciate you guys being here. All right, so let's begin, guys. So we are going to be learning calling this word. And the reason why we're going to be calling this word is because this word is a word that is not pronounced as it is being spelled in English. So we have the O making that sound W, ah. Then we hear the N makes a sound N. And then the C, when it comes before E, I, or Y, a lot of the times we hear a song like S. So we hear W, ons, W, ons, W, ons, once. So our word here is once. When you're talking about something uh, happening once, you're talking about it happening one time. All right. So once, that's one of the words that we choose to decode. Let's decode this word because sometimes some of us we still struggle with silent E. The E at the end is silent. Most times the vowel will make a song where it call its name. So we hear T, I'm, time. And we're going to decode this word too. In this word, we hear D. as in the TH making that voice sound, D. Then we hear air. So we hear D, air, there. Our next word, and this there is like a place. So when you're talking about a place, if I say put it there, I'm referring to a place. So put it there. One of the ways to remember this there is talking about a place is to see the small word here in it. So here you can see and then you see ERE making the sound A here, as in the place. All right. So there and here, that's two words you learn there. Now we also see this same set of letters or graphemes being represented here in this word. However, in this word, the ER goes together to say and the E at the end is silent. So remember, sometimes you can see it in different formats. You can see these graphemes in different ways, and they would be pronounced different. So that's one of the things that you need to look out for whenever you are learning how to read English. Always remember that English, a lot of us, we say it's a funny language where it does not stick to the rules. There are a lot of exceptions in the rules. And yes, that is so true. So always be careful to look at your words carefully and learn the words also by sight, so it becomes easy for you not to get into the habit of thinking that because you would have heard the word in one uh, capacity, as in the sound in one capacity, that it would be automatically be the same for other words. No, it does not go like that. So be very much careful with that or be vigilant. So let's go ahead and let's read this line. So this line says, once upon a time, there were two. Let's tackle this big word. So we have the small word am in it. So we say am, fam. Then the I makes a short sound, e, and then we hear l. So family. And then the I, E, we can say that it makes the sound E. Whenever I, E goes together, it can make the sound E. It can also make the sound I. And then S at the end makes a sound like Z. So we hear fam, il, and then we hear l, is, families. Always remember whenever S comes at the end, after an E, a lot of times S can make song like Z. So you hear Z. So our word there is families. The next word that we're going to take a look at is this word am. You can see the small word there again. E, R, and E. So we have am, E, R, E. A Mary. And then we can hear can. So we can see the small word can. So that word is American. American. In this, you may want to put the E and R together to say no. And that word, the E and R does not go together to say Instead, the E makes the short sound, the R makes its own sound, and then we hear can, American. And an American is someone who is a native to America, as in they were born in America or they obtained their status through marriage or otherwise. Like, for example, being a refugee, they may be able to obtain their status. So that's who an American is. All right, let's keep going. Our next word, fam, e. Remember, short I, a, l, famil, and the Y at the end makes a sound that says E. So always be aware that Y at the end can make two sounds. It can say E or it can say I. In the longer words, it makes the E sound. In the shorter words, like 3-letter words, 4-letter words, you will hear I. That is a way to understand how the vowel sounds work at the end. So our word is family. And who is a family? A family is actually a group of people who live, work, share together. They are related by blood or otherwise. For example, through marriage or through adoption and these things, you have a family. Our next word, live, live, and then ing at the end says ing, ing, ing. So our word there is living, living. When you are living somewhere, what does that mean? It simply means that you basically take up residence there or that you have been staying there for a long period of time, in terms of boarding there, like sleeping and doing all your necessities in that specific home or place. So living in. Our next word, sn, O-W-O. It can also say ow, but in this case, we hear O, so snow, snow. So we have our small word snow, and then we add E at the end, remember? Y at the end, two sounds, I or E. In this case, we hear E. Snowy, snowy. So our word there is snowy. And you know, when it's snowy, it means that there's a lot of snow, right? So the place would look very white, very foggy, uh, filled with a lot of ice on the ground. That is called snowy. Our next word, sub, sub. So we have the rhyme there, sub, and suburb, suburb. Now let's add S. So we hear suburbs, suburbs. And what do we really call the suburbs? So the suburbs would be those places that are just outside of the town area in any given place. The suburbs would be those places just outside of the town. Those are the places that we'll call sub, and then suburb. We add S to it, we have suburbs. So what are the suburbs or the suburban area? Those areas are areas just outside of the town in any place or country. And our next word, I. And then we hear k, a, and then we hear g. And the O makes a long song, so we hear O. So our word here is I, k, chick. We can divide it into two parts, chick, and then we hear a, and then we hear g, O. Or we can put g, O together to make that small word go. And then we can say ick, and then a, and then go. Our word is Chicago. So we hear ick, chick, a, go. Chicago, Chicago. And Chicago is actually a place in the US. So if you have ever been to the US, you may have visited Chicago before, or if you've ever heard news about things that are happening in the US, then you would actually hear about Chicago in almost at least 2 or 3 events per week. You may hear about Chicago. So let's go ahead and let's read that sentence. So let's remember the words from the top that we have studied. And remember, you guys can participate by hitting the link in the comment section if you want to come on screen and you want to read aloud so that you can practice. That would be such a great moment. Remember, you do not have to use your camera, so you can come along and read. So let's go ahead and read. Once upon a time, there were two families, an American family living in the snowy suburbs of Chicago. Now we just read that slowly just to remember the words. Now we're going to read it at a faster pace. Let's go ahead and read at a faster pace. And I hope that you guys are ready for that. Are you ready? Let's go. Once upon a time, there were two families, an American family living in the snowy suburbs of Chicago. How is that for you guys? Guys, please get active in the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking and let me know if you think you're able to call the words now that we have gone through them, how well you are doing in terms of calling the words. Remember, here we learn how to decode the words, and that makes it easier for you to read the words and to read any English words that has those same songs in them. You'll be able to read them. As soon as you spot the songs, you'll be able to call those words. And that is our objective here, to get you guys to be very apt in your reading. So let's continue so that we can be able to read this whole page. Our next word that we'll take a look at is this word. So the A in this word makes a long sound. We hear A, then we hear sh, age, and then we hear an. Remember here, it is the Z8 song that some English words make. For SI, you would hear it, and you would hear it for other songs. Like, for example, in the word treasure, you're going to hear that same song too. So in this word, treasure, you're going to hear true, the E and A, you're going to hear eh. The E makes a short sound, the A is silent. Then you hear zh, and then you hear Okay? So that's the same expression that you hear in the word Asian. So you hear the Z8 song, you hear zh. So you hear A, the long song for A. Then you hear zh, and then an. Asian. Asian. A lot of persons, when you see SI, you might tend to say the sh sound, as in the S8 sound, but you have to remember that it's not the S8 sound, it is the Z8 sound that you hear. Otherwise, you're going to say A, sh, and Asian. 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 Well, a lot of persons today pronounce it as Asian. A lot of us do, but their pronunciation, as in their pronunciation from back then to now, still remains the same, and it has always been the j sound, Asian. All right, so here we meet that same word that we just did a while ago. Can you remember it? Remember, we see the small word am, fam, e, and then we hear the L says l, famil, and the Y makes the E sound, family. All right, our next word, the WH, the W is silent, the H makes a sound, so we hear and the O at the end makes a short oo sound, we hear oo. So, oo, who. Remember, WH can also make the sound w, like in the word what, where the W makes a sound and the H stays silent. So be very careful when reading those words. And who is a word that you can learn by sight, as in a sight word that it's easily detected. Once you see it, you might be just very quick in being able to call it. So you should do some practice on recognizing that word. Our next word, we just had as part of this word when we did this word living. So we have live, and then the E at the end is silent and we add S. So we have lives. And when you live in a place or in an area, it simply means that you reside there, you board there, you sleep there. That is your home. This word can also be pronounced as live. So always be careful how you're reading it in context, as in to understand its meaning in whatever text you're reading so that you can be able to call the word correctly. Our next word is this word, b, then we hear S and T together, bus. The S, the T is actually silent in the word. So we hear b, or we can put the U and S together to say us, bus. And then we hear the L, and then the ing. We just did ing in the word living. So the ing says ing. So we hear b, us, bus, and then ing, bustling. So our word is bustling. In this word, the T is silent. There are a lot of words in English where T is silent, and you have to be very careful in your pronunciation of the word. We do not say bustling. Instead, we say bus and ling, bustling. So you can actually part the word in two by saying bus, as in that vehicle that you would ride on, a bus, and then you say ing, bustling. That's another way that you can break it down to realize that the T is silent. You don't hear the sound. And when you talk about a place being a bustling place, you're actually talking about that place being very busy. So, uh, for example, if you ever go to um, places during the Christmas time, you're going to find that these places, they are very busy and crowded. They have lots of activities. So bustling would be the same thing, where you have a busy or crowded place that is like fully alive with lots of activities. So we can say it's lively, we can say it's vibrant, or we can say it's buzzing. We can also say that it's hectic, because places where you have a lot of activities would be places where it's very hectic, right? So that's another word that we can use there. Our next word is true, T and R together, making that sound true. Then we hear up. We can put the O and P together like in the word hop. So that's a rhyme. So we hear true, up, trop. And then here we have that same rhyme again, ik, ik. So this is a word that you can, a rhyme, sorry, that you can familiar yourself with. Ik, I and C together, ik. So tropic and al. So our word here is tropical. And we hear about tropical places all the time whenever we hear about the weather. And that can help you to gain context or an understanding or meaning of what tropical actually is talking about. And a lot of times we hear about some places, like, for example, the Caribbean being a tropical place. And this just simply means that the weather there is more of a warm type or hot weather. When we hear about tropical places, we hear about warm weather or hot weather temperatures, right? And if we are into the geographics and all that, we realize that tropical places are places that are actually north and south of the equator, right? We call them tropical places. So that's a bit of geography there for those of us who maybe are not familiar with why they are called tropical places. And our next word is t. The O makes a long sound. We hear o, k, talk, and then we hear y, and then we hear o again, the long song. So we hear Tokyo, Tokyo, Tokyo. So our word here is Tokyo, Tokyo. And Tokyo is actually the city of Japan. The city of Japan. It's called Tokyo. Have you guys ever been to Japan before? If you've ever went to Japan, comment in the comment section and say, yeah, me, I've been to Japan before. All right, so Japan is a place that I would really love to visit one day. So, by God's grace and mercy, I would definitely love to visit Japan. If I'm given the opportunity, it's an opportunity that I would take up. Yeah, maybe one day I'll think about going to Japan to teach English. Yeah, that sounds very amazing, right? Let's go ahead and let's read. And an Asian family in, so this should be who lives in the bustling Tokyo. Sorry, tropical Tokyo. And guys, you see, even us, persons who are familiar with the language, sometimes when reading or writing, we can sometimes not do it in the correct way. And so that helps us to understand the challenges that you guys face in trying to learn the language. Let's read it again. And an Asian family who lives in the bustling tropical Tokyo. All right, guys. So let's read it all from the top now. So we're just going to take out this word because this word is a typo error. So we're just going to take it out and we're going to read. All right. So that's incorrect way to say the sentence when that word is a part of it. And this would help you to learn to improve your grammar in English also, which would be a good thing for you. So let's go ahead and read it all from the top. Let's make sense of it. Let's understand it in terms of the language, how it is being used here, and let's appreciate the language. Are you ready to read from the top? Well, I'm ready, so let's go. However, before we begin, we are going to go over some of the words to see if we remember them. American, there, time, once, were, living, family, families, snowy, suburbs, Chicago, Asian, We have the word family again. Who lives bustling tropical Tokyo. All right, guys. So there we were able to call all the words, and let's see some fluency with our reading. Let's go ahead and begin. Remember, if you guys want to come on screen to read, there's a link in the comment section. You can click on it and you can come to read with me, as in practice your reading orally. Once upon a time, there were two families, an American family living in the snowy suburbs of Chicago, and an Asian family who lives in the bustling tropical Tokyo. All right, guys. Here, this could have been more interesting had we put in the bustling tropical city of Tokyo. So here's a way that we could really enhance our writing by stating the type of place that Tokyo is. So uh, it would have added a lot more to our text. All right, so let's read it one more time. Once upon a time, there were two families, an American family living in the snowy suburbs of Chicago, and an Asian family who lives in the bustling tropical Tokyo. All right, guys, so hope that you just uh, managed in terms of being able to read that text, and you have learned some new words. For example, suburbs, it means the area that is just outside of the town in any given place or country. And another word for suburb, you can hear the word suburban, which means the same thing. So suburban is actually the longer form in saying suburbs. And that's one new expression that you may have learned there. Bustling is also another expression that you have learned. Uh, it simply means when something is very lively and crowded or busy, you can say that it is bustling. And we can picture a town like Tokyo to be one of those bustling places. All right, so that's two new interesting vocabulary words that you have just learned. You can go ahead and try to use them in the comment section if you feel so inclined. You want to practice to use them in the comment section, go ahead and do that, and I'll read them and help you with any errors that you are still making in terms of your grammar. All right, so let's go ahead and let's continue to read. So, in continuing to read, we can recognize some of the words that we just did. So, we are not going to go over sounding out these words because we just learned them. Instead, I'm just going to be underlining the word, and I'm hoping that you'll remember the word. So, what is this one? Snowy. So, if you said snowy, that's correct. Sn, the OWO, and the Y at the end make the E sound. Snowy. Let's see another one that we have just looked at. How about this one? American. So, if you did say American, that's correct. So, we hear am, the small rhyme am. Then we hear and r and e, Ameri, and we hear can, as in the small word can, American. So those two words we have just learned them, and I'm hoping that you were able to remember them, because when we learn words, this important thing for us is to remember those words, as in how they look and This would help us to really be able to read fluently. So now we are going to be tackling those words that we did not do previously. So, for example, we did not do this word e, v, and then we hear the e is silent, and then we hear n, and then ing. So we did ing with the song for ing. That's something that you should remember. A, n, ing, ing. So we hear Eve, and if you're looking for the name Eve as in Eve, the in the Bible, the woman that God has given to Adam in order for creation to start within the world, then you would realize that this is how you spell the word Eve. Okay? And it's the same way that you would spell the word like Christmas Eve. So if you're talking about the day before Christmas, the 24th of December, then you'll spell it this way, Eve. Or New Year's Eve. That same way, that's how you'll spell it. So there you just learned a new word. So the E at the end is actually silent. So you hear Eve and then N and ing, evening. We know what evening time is. For us here in this zone in the West, our evening time is normally from uh, 5:30 or sometimes 6 o'clock up until uh, like 10 o'clock. Around that time, we'll call it evening time. For some persons, it might go up to 9 o'clock, right? Or some persons, maybe they extend it to 11 o'clock. So I think it depends sometimes on the culture of the place because though we are all from the West, our cultures can be a bit different. So our next word is d, e. So the E makes a long song. We hear whenever C comes before E, I or Y, a lot of times it makes a song like S. So we hear S, and then we hear the rhyme M, like in the word hem and stem. So we hear D, S, M, the sem, and then B, December, and December. So remember the ER makes the song the If you are from the American zone, then definitely you will say December. However, the British would say December. So they'll make the short song at the end rather than to roll it out like that. So DE is also a prefix in English words. All right. So December. And December is the last month in the year. It is the 12th month in the year. And it is that month during which we celebrate, during which persons, a lot of persons throughout the world celebrate Christmas. Because note to self, I do not celebrate Christmas. However, if you choose to celebrate Christmas, then I would say that's how you see it. So our next word is k, at, and then we hear the th, and then we hear e. The y at the end makes the e sound, and you see we have a lot of practice with the y at the end making the e sound today. So our word here is Kathy, Kathy, and Kathy is actually a name in English. It's a very popular name in English. In some ways, some persons may pronounce it as Katie. So it can be pronounced as Katie, it can be pronounced as Catty. I think it's dependent on the way that their parents would pronounce it after they have given birth or call them at home that they would call their name. But remember, if you choose to pronounce it as Catty, so you're going to name someone Catty, your child Catty, then that's fine. Or you're going to name them Katie, that's fine because the spelling is pretty much still the same. Or sometimes some persons would spell it with IE at the end. All right. So that's another way that you can see it being spelled. You can see it being spelled as Kati, as with a Y or IE, or Katie with a Y or IE. All right, so let's go ahead and let's read the sentence. One snowy evening in December, Kati was, all right, or you can say Katie, whichever one you want to call it. But one of the things, always remember, whichever one you call it when reading, you try to stay very consistent with that pronunciation. So if the first pronunciation that you say is Katie throughout the text when you're reading, constantly go ahead and call it Katie. Do not change and say Kati. All right, because that would end up as a miscue or an inconsistency in your reading. Because it's like you're not sure of which pronunciation you should go for the names. Remember, names do not follow rule, and once the pronunciation can match, they would be, just jump over it. All right, unless you're reading about a particular person in history and you're calling their name, then the expectation would be for you to use their name as it is pronounced. All right, so those are just reminders for you to be very careful. So let's go ahead. We can see the small word eat. If you do not know the word eat, then the E makes the sound E and the A silent. So together, EA can say E. And then we get T. So seat. Anytime a word in English ends with T or D, the EV would normally make a id sound. So the song that we hear at the ending would be id. So seat and id. Seated. Seated. What does it mean to be seated? It simply means that you are sitting. If you're seated in a place, you are sitting. Our next word is k. Our O makes a long song where we hear the O call its name. So we hear O. So k, O's. Then we hear A, L, ill. And we hear E for the Y. So our word here is cozily. 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 What does it mean when you're sitting cozily? Guys, what does it mean? So if you are sitting in an area and I say, hey, you look so cozy in that area, what am I really referring to when I use that word cozy? So cozily is actually the adverb of the word. So it simply means that you're sitting in a warm, comfortable, and safe space. All right. So, for example, if you are just sitting by the window or you're sitting by the fireplace, then and you are sitting cozily, then it is just telling us the manner in which you're sitting, how you are seated. Our next word, we can see the small word be, as in the to be verb. And then we see a next word where the E at the end is silent. We hear the S making the sound S, and then the vowel says I. So we hear S, I'd, side, side. So these two words go together to say beside, beside. What does it mean when you are beside something? So if I'm beside something, what does that mean? It means simply that I am apart from it when I'm beside it. Okay? So I'm apart from it when I am beside it. That simply means that I'm apart from it. Okay? Our next word, we have, then the I makes the sound I. The R, the ER says in this word actually. And we know that ER is actually written as, sorry, the RE says in this word. We know whenever we see RE, a lot of times it says re or it can say re. But however, in this word, we actually hear song as in the ER song, right? So that's one of the things that you have to be very careful when spelling the word. I had to remember it's RE. And I don't know, maybe this is just old English or like that. So the ER is saying So we have I and fire, fire. So our word is fire. And then we have another word, P and L together, pool. The E at the end silent. The A makes a long song where it calls its name, and the S because it comes the C, sorry, before it because it comes before the S, it makes a song like S. So yes. So the word is fireplace. Fireplace. And you should be very familiar with what a fireplace is. So a fireplace is just simply where you have fire burning, right? Or where you would light a fire within your house. Sometimes people may use some stones and just put some sticks in it and they keep the fire lighted. Sorry, lit. And they just sit there and enjoy the beauty of it or the warmness that it offers. They would sit and enjoy it. So that's what a fireplace is. Our next word, guys, let's keep going. Let's read before we go on to the next one because we have the opportunity to read at this time. Let's go ahead and read. So, our first one, let's begin here. One snowy evening in December, Katty was seated cozily beside the fireplace of her. Let's read it a bit faster now. Let's read it a bit faster now. One snowy evening in December, Katty was seated cozily beside the fireplace of her. Good. If you were able to do that, that's very good. So we have two more lines to tackle. Let's tackle those two lines now. So our next word, we have k. We see O and M, come. Then we have f and t. So let's put this part of the word together. We have k, come, f, t, fought. And then our word would be comfort, comfort. And then we have a, b, ab, like in the rhyme ab, like cab, lab. And then we have le that says o, o. So our word here now is comfort, ab, and o. So when we put it together, we hear comfortable, comfortable, comfortable. All right, so our word is comfortable. So our word is comfortable, guys. And all of us, we like to feel comfortable, comfortable. Do you like to feel comfortable? I'm sure you do. There are things that we look forward to on a day-to-day basis to help us to feel comfortable. What are some of those things? Type them in the comment section. Let's see what are some of those things that you look forward on a day-to-day basis to make you comfortable. And all of us, our comfort would be different. So what we would see comfort in, it would look different. So when we are comfortable, it just simply means that we are able to be at ease, like in terms of our physical body is able to feel that ease or relaxation. Um, we may be cozy or snuggly, or we may just be having a restful time where we feel safe, we feel secured and sheltered whenever we are comfortable. Or, comfortable would be like you feel a kind of at home type of way or type of vibe where you just feel like you are at home. So you don't have to really act in any way that is beyond you. You can just be free and be who you are on an everyday basis. So there are different things or different environments that would actually help us to feel comfortable. You guys can go ahead and tell me what are some of those um, environments or places that helps you to feel comfortable. We did this word before, American. So remember, we are not going over that word because we did it before. Our next word is but when you our and the e at the end is silent. Remember, when you can make various sounds. However, in this one we hear our, so house, and your house is actually that building that you are living in that you would call your house, your home, that building that make your home. Our next word we hear w. The W makes a sound, the H stays silent, the E at the end is silent also, and then we hear the vowel call its name. So we hear I. Our word here is w, I'll, while. Uh, our next word we hear pr, E, pre, and this is a common prefix in English word. Anytime you see the prefix pre, it means that it comes before. So pre means before. And then we hear p and so an e should be here, right? Before you add ing. In the root word, an e would normally be here. And the are says air, but whenever you are changing to make it into continuous tense, you would take off the y and then add ing. So hence we have prepare and we have ing, preparing. So the word is preparing. And when you are preparing something, it simply means that you're getting ready or you are in the moment of putting things together. Our next word that we're going to take a look at is this word up. So we see that small rhyme like in hop, hop, then k, O and R together, or n. So our word here is k, on, corn. So these two words, popcorn, and then we have the word, so that's popcorn, as in their snack that we eat. Then we have st and r. So we put it all together. We have str, and then ing, string, and we add s. So we have strings, strings. All right, guys, strings. And what are strings? And you guys would have seen strings before. So you guys know what strings are. I assume you know what strings are. So strings are actually like twine or yarn. They are like thread that are made of cotton. You can call them strings. Normally, these would be twisted together to form like a thin length that you would call a string. So a string is also like a rope too. You can also think of it like being a rope that is twisted together, where the fabric or cotton, whatever it is, it's been twisted together. All right. So guys, we're doing well. We have one more word to cover, and then we can read our whole text. And I'm sure that you guys are happy for that. One more part to go, and then we can read our whole text. So, as in one more word to go. So, our next word here is this word, CNH. The CNH, you may be accustomed to CNH making the ch sound. However, CNH can also make the k sound, as in the K sound or the C sound, k, that sound, k. And then we hear r, put it all together, we have kur. So that's like K and R together, kur. Like C and R would make that same sound, kur. And then we have a short I sound, and then S and T together, st. So we have Chris. The T is actually silent. So let's debunk that. The T is silent. So we don't hear the song for the T. So we have Chris, as in a name of a boy, or some girls, they have the name Chris. Some of them, they are short names. Like, for example, the name Crystal or Chrisan, you would hear people call them Chris or Chrissy, right? So Chris, and the T silent, and then we hear and here the A make a rounded sound, so we hear and s. So we hear Chris, and then we hear s. Christmas, Christmas. All right, so that's the song that we hear in Christmas. The CH making the k sound. So we hear crew is, the T silent, and then we hear the A makes a rounded sound, and then we hear s, Christmas, Christmas. I know a lot of you, sometimes if you've seen the word for the first time and you've never heard or seen it, you may say Christ and Mass. That would be incorrect. All right? Because the T is silent. So Chris and Mass, Christmas. And our small word here is T and R together, true, and the two E's makes the sound E. So Christmas tree, Christmas tree. And you may be familiar with a Christmas tree by now. Christmas tree is actually that pine cone tree that people often use to put up around Christmas time. They decorate it with bells and lights and all these things. And it may be one that a lot of persons may have seen before. All right, guys. So we were able to get through all the words there. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can call the words now. They're the more difficult ones, and then we are going to be reading the full section. All right, so let's do that. So our words: comfortable, comfortable, American, preparing, Christmas, strings, popcorn, house, tree, cozily, seated, December, evening, snowy, Catty or Katie, whichever one you choose to pronounce it as, fireplace, beside. All right, guys. So there you have all the words. Now we're going to be erasing these lines and we're going to be reading through to see how much you remember. Remember, guys, we want you to develop as much fluency as you can in calling or reading the words. So when you see them, you automatically remember the songs, or you can just read them by sight. So let's go ahead and let's go through the words, then read the text. Christmas, strings, popcorn, American, cozily, seated, snowy, evening, December, Catty or Katie, fireplace, beside, comfortable, 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 preparing, while, house, tree. All right, guys. So if you have all those words together, I'm thinking that you should be able to read the text fluently. Let's read through now. One snowy evening in December, Catty or Katie was seated cozily beside the fireplace of her comfortable American house while preparing popcorn strings for the Christmas tree. All right, so just a while ago we read very slowly. Now we're going to be reading it at a faster pace. One snowy evening in December, Katie or Catty was seated cozily beside the fireplace of her comfortable American house while preparing popcorn strings for the Christmas tree. Let's do it one more time. Are you ready for that? Let's go. One snowy evening in December, Catty or Katie was seated cozily beside the fireplace of her comfortable American house while preparing popcorn strings for the Christmas tree. All right, so there we got to see what Christmas was like, uh, a, an aspect of Christmas in the American household. Now we are going to see it on a different way, or in a different country's outlook of how they enjoy Christmas, right? At a later stage. So in our next reading text, we're going to continue with what Katie was doing for Christmas, and then we'll learn all about what the other country was doing too. I hope that you guys really enjoy this reading session, that you have gained a lot in our short space of time reading, and that you would continue to practice reading this so that you guys can be very fluent in your reading. Remember also to share this reading text with someone else so that they also can learn how to read. Reading is a vital tool that all of us would want to have at the end of the day, because it allows us to function well in our society. So continue to learn how to read English and just keep practicing. I'm sure that you would really do well at it, and you would get to improve. Don't forget to comment what other videos you'd like to see us do here on Read English 101. We hope to read English with you again soon.